Hallelujah, hallelujah. He will come in the clouds of his Father's bright glory, but we know not the hour. There's light for the wise who are seeking salvation. There's truth in the book of the Lord's revelation. Each prophecy points to the great consummation, but we know not the hour. He will come. Let us watch and be ready. He will come. Hallelujah, hallelujah. He will come in the clouds of his Father's bright glory, but we know not the hour. We'll watch and we'll pray with a lamp stream and burning. We'll walk and we'll wait till the Master's returning. We'll sing and rejoice, every omen discerning, but we know not the hour. He will come. Let us watch and be ready. He will come. Hallelujah, hallelujah. He will come in the clouds of his Father's bright glory, but we know not the hour. Amen. A choice from the congregation? Yes. 573. 573. E flat, E. $573. I'll go where you want me to go. It may not be on the mountain height or over the stormy sea. 573. Are we all there? Let us all sing together. Let's sing. It may want me to say, dear Lord, I'll be what you want to be somehow. The lonely place in Earth's harvest so wide, where I may labor through life's short day, for Jesus the crucified. So trusting my soul unto thee, thy care, I know thou lovest me. I'll do thy will with a heart sincere. I'll be what you want me to be. I'll go where you want me to go, dear Lord. O mountain, O plain, O sea, I'll say what you want me to say, dear Lord. I'll be what you want me to be. May God bless you. Our one last hymn. Let us open hymn number 327, 327. I'd rather have Jesus than silver or gold. C. I'd rather have Jesus than silver or gold. Let's sing. I'd rather have Jesus than silver or gold. I'd rather be his than have riches untold. I'd rather have Jesus than houses or lands. I'd rather be led by his nail-pierced hand than to be the king of a vast domain, or be held in sin's dread sway. I'd rather have Jesus than anything this world affords today. I'd rather have Jesus than men's applause. I'd rather be faithful to his cause. I'd rather have Jesus than worldwide fame. I'd rather be true to his holy name than to be the king of a vast domain, or be held in sin's dread sway. I'd rather have Jesus than anything this world affords today. He's fairer than lilies of rarest bloom. He's sweeter than honey from out of the comb. He's all that my hungering spirit needs. I'd rather have Jesus and let him lead than to be the king of a vast domain, or be held in sin's dread sway. I'd rather have Jesus than anything this world affords today.
Good afternoon, church. Good afternoon. I want to make a special appeal to those who are sitting outside under the trees, just to move close to this shade where we are. Kindly come close to the church. Thank you, Brother Brian, for leading us in that song service. We are going to have our speaker do a special talk on HIV, and thereafter we will be able to have a session of question and answers. So during this session of question and answers, we ask you to feel very free, come up with questions that would be bothering you surrounding HIV and AIDS, and we will be there to help answering them accordingly. So I want to invite the speaker to come for his presentation. Most welcome.
Thank you, Dorothy, and thank you, the church, for attending this afternoon session. Basically, this afternoon, we are going to zero into discussions on HIV and AIDS. I'm not going to deal with medical jargons that will disturb you, but I want to bring it and make it simpler for you to follow, because the essence of this presentation is basically to highlight why HIV is really a pandemic and how do you go about addressing this pandemic in the church. So that is the essence of this presentation. So to begin with, the 2020 target was 90% of people living with HIV, knowing their status, and then people who are diagnosed with HIV receiving ARTs or antiretroviral treatment, and then 90% of people receiving ARTs are also having viral suppression. So those were that was the target for actually a World AIDS Day, and towards 2020. But there are also other targets for 2030, and the targets is basically looking at 0% new infections, 0% discrimination, and even 0% HIV-related deaths. So those were the targets which we are aiming at the moment. As a country, we are standing at 4.9% prevalence. And of course, you know, incidence is different from prevalence. But in terms of children, we are doing 0.7%. Just to let you know that more female are affected than male. So actually, for female, it's 6.6% prevalence versus 3.1% for male. So it's actually double the prevalence in male. This country has been zoned into three. There is what we call hyper-endemic zones. Apparently, and I'm sorry to say that these zones are falling squarely within our territory. You talk of counties like Migori, it's Homa Bay, Kisumu, Siaya, and Migori, categorized as high endemic. Areas around the lake, Mombasa is coming, even Turkana is coming, but the second part is called medium areas. You talk of counties like Turkana, Trans Nzoia, Narok, Nandi, and all those parts, including Mombasa. So they are really coming up. But then there's low areas, and you're talking of areas like Marsabit, Isiolo, Samburu, Meru, and so many others. But we need to be careful also in terms of new infections. We are now seeing new infections coming up so high in those low endemic areas like Marsabit, Samburu, but in terms of new infections, they are coming up. But I want to put and underline the statement that it is cheaper and it is safe to prevent than to treat. So Kenya is working towards 0 infections by 2030, and then I think I've said that. And my colleague here mentioned clearly that youth still stands a high chance in terms of new infections. So the bullet there is knowledge about HIV and AIDS empowers one to avoid risk behaviors that put them at risk of acquiring HIV, and reducing transmission and reducing stigma and seeking treatment and care services. So the main idea there is empowerment, and that is the key message. Knowing your status, knowing the truth about HIV. At this stage now, I don't expect anybody to be talking about HIV as a witchcraft or a curse or what HIV is real. So knowledge empowers one, and when you get the right knowledge and information, you are able to make an informed choice. So you need to get accurate information that will help you to make right decision and the right choices. So those are the key messages in terms of empowering one to know the condition. The action points is testing, and this should be able to assure one of his or her status, because I'll tell you that you don't tell whether you are HIV positive by looking at the science. No, that is a myth, that's a misconception. The most accurate way is to test. HIV testing is the most correct way of preventing prevention, care, and treatment. And it's important that you are tested with your family. If you have a family, please go with your spouse for testing. Don't go alone. Get the correct information about HIV. And then there are many misconceptions about testing, many misconceptions about HIV. Some I've just put on the screen, like HIV is not a death sentence. You have it, it can still be managed, and you can live a healthy life for the remaining part of your life. People living with HIV cannot have children. That is not true. It's a misconception. HIV is associated with the black people. That is not true. HIV is a sin and a punishment from God. I think that's what I dealt with this morning. It's not a punishment. HIV is a third world country problem. That's not true. It is for the poor. That's not true. You can always tell someone who is HIV positive. That's not true. And people living with HIV/AIDS are incompetent. That is not true. HIV was invented to get rid of the black people. That's not true. Only those who are promiscuous get HIV. That's not true. In a short while, we will be seeing the routes of transmission. One of them being sexual infection, conduct, and many other routes. Christians and Muslims do not get HIV because they are religious. That's not true. As a result of the emergence of COVID-19, there have also been some myths or misconceptions relating to COVID-19 vaccination and HIV infection and treatment in terms of ART. And some people say COVID-19 vaccines increases the chances of someone getting HIV, which is not true. There's no relationship between COVID-19 vaccines and HIV treatment. COVID-19 vaccines not safe for people living with HIV. That's not true. In fact, what these COVID-19 vaccines is basically actually to prevent one from contracting. But HIV, as you well know, it lowers the immunity. So therefore, the chances of COVID-19 comorbidity with HIV is even more, is not safe. HIV medications can be used to treat COVID-19. That's not true. COVID-19 vaccines interfere with antiretroviral therapy to treat and prevent HIV. That's not also true. So those are the misconceptions that we demystifying against relating COVID-19 vaccines versus ART. Well, the book of Hosea 4:6 says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge." So you need to be empowered in terms of what really is HIV and what really is COVID-19 and how are they related or how are they not related. And then Romans 12 verse 2 says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." The book of John tells us that you will know the truth and the truth will set you free. That one you know very well. So you need to have that knowledge and the truth. Job 38:2 says, "Which is that obscure my plans with words without knowledge." So basically all these verses are talking about knowledge on HIV and COVID-19. And look at the last one. "My son, pay attention to what I say. Turn your ear unto my words." So you really need to get this knowledge about HIV. You may have power to make the right choice for your health, but remember, risk behaviors has a long-term health consequences. And some of the risk behaviors, when HIV came early 19 1984, when it landed in this country. You are very much aware of the ABC, that is abstain, which is biblical anyway, being faithful to one uninfected partner in marriage, that is biblical also, and then condomize. There are many issues and talks about condom which I don't want to enter into this afternoon because it will take me the whole afternoon. But other organizations have even come up with other slogans like SAVE, like Kuokoa, SAVE, but that is safe sex, and then availability of treatment, and then voluntary counseling and testing. Nowadays we say HTC, HIV testing and counseling, and then the E there is empowerment. So the main idea here is empowerment. Empower people with the knowledge, empower people with accessing the treatment, and they'll be okay. Your health is your future, so invest in it. Today's decisions and actions determine your health. You can help stop spread of HIV now. Purity and chastity pays. Bad company ruins good character. And that is very important. So prevention is a strategy. And remember, in the book of 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 21 through 23, it is basically talking about exclusive breastfeeding. That's why Hannah says, Hannah did not, she said to her husband, after the boy is weaned, I'll take him and present him before the Lord, and he will live there always. So this is basically to tell our mothers, those who are breastfeeding, if you, by any chance, you are positive, then we are encouraged to exclusive breastfeed for 6 months, and then you stop. So prevention is a strategy. There's a call for marriage faithfulness, and you remember that verse very well. Most of us know. The book is Proverbs, so it's speaking in that proverbial language. But it says, let them be yours alone, never to be shared with strangers. May your fountain be blessed, and may you rejoice in the wife of your youth. So basically, it is calling for a marriage faithfulness. That is B. Okay, and the verses go on. But what I want to read on is 1 Corinthians chapter 7, 8 through 10, which says, now come to the unmarried and the widows. I say, it is good for them to stay unmarried, as I do. This is Paul speaking. But if they do not control themselves, they should marry, for it is better to marry than to burn with passion. So one other aspect of HIV prevention is faithfulness in marriage. And it is very easy for us to speak and to say, be faithful in your marriage. But let me tell you, what we are experiencing now is totally different from the talk. Because we are seeing high chances of people being unfaithful, and that predisposes them to HIV infection. But the supreme word is being faithful in your marriage. And there are many other verses that we can read from, but what I want to echo and what I want to really emphasize is treatment controls the virus and helps prevent transmission so that people with HIV and those at risk can enjoy good and productive life. ARVs help to prolong and improve the quality of life of those affected. Now, at times we may say, if I have HIV, I know I will die. But with the occurrence and with the presence of ARVs, then you can still lead a quality life. So you need not to worry about that. Facts about HIV, about ARVs. Antiretrovirals are free in all public and even private hospitals. And these ARVs work by reducing the levels of HIV viruses in the body. And then there is an element of good adherence to ART, which reduces resistance. And then there is what you call daily correct use, which promotes good life. The key message is starting treatment early promotes good life. Those days we used to initiate ARTs for somebody who was CD4s below 200. But I think my colleagues will confirm with me that nowadays, the moment you are tested and you are confirmed, then ARTs is initiated straight away. A person living with HIV can be treated and live a healthy, normal life. Positive living brings people hope and change. So it's important to have faith and hope as you continue with the treatment. Accountability is very important. You know, the problem with us is we don't support those who are infected. But here is saying support the infected to adhere to treatment. I don't know how many of us take time to support those who are already affected or infected, especially the ones who are affected, to adhere to their treatment. That is called accountability partner. Provide resources needed for them because the pandemic is huge on them, needs a lot of resources. Action points: form psychosocial support groups for children, and I think my colleagues are here to listen to that, for children, adolescents, and young people, and families and adults living with HIV. You know, sometimes this is not easy to do because, first of all, for any action to take place, people must accept their status. So when they accept their status and they are able to open up, that is when now they can form this psychosocial group, then they can forge ahead, even doing things like IGS and many other support they can get from the group. So I'll really emphasize on this. As a church, we need to form psychosocial groups for people living with HIV and AIDS. But there are also myths like HIV is curable. I will tell you that it is manageable. So there's a difference between being curable and manageable. Having sex, those ones are hold statements which I don't need even to repeat. People living with HIV can have children who are HIV negative. Cannot. That is not true. HIV always leads to AIDS. That's not true. You can have HIV and yet you don't even lead to that last stage of full-blown AIDS. When someone believes in faith healing, there's no need to continue ARVs. That is not true. That's another myth. That's another misconception. And this is where we are really missing in some other denominations, even among us ourselves. We usually resort to herbal healing, or we say, I can pray and the virus goes away. That is not very true. And then it is okay to share ARVs with my spouse. That is not correct. Use your own and let your spouse use her own. Then another key message is timely care, spiritual and psychosocial support leads to effective management, treatment in management of HIV when the body immunity is still strong. So the essence there of this bullet is to emphasize that you need to go for treatment, you need to initiate ARTs when your immunity is still strong. And there are facts about this. Immediate support enhances self-acceptance. And then timely psychosocial and spiritual care is a protective factor. Early care and support enhances adherence to treatment, and it also prolongs life. When people living with HIV are supported, it upholds human dignity, it gives them hope, it reassures them of the presence of God in their lives. So remember, all people are equal before God. He cares for us equally, regardless of our status. So there's no need for you to discriminate people based on their status. In fact, there are many legal laws on that in terms of discrimination regarding and based on the status. You can either be infected or affected, and hence there's need to create safe space for people living with HIV. HIV is a chronic condition. If management in an environment, it should be managed in an environment of love, acceptance, and one's quality of life in the community will be enhanced. So you manage it with a lot of passion, with a lot of care, with a lot of love. So as I said earlier on, encourage exclusive breastfeeding, and mothers need to be sensitized on this. Please take this as an opportunity as a church to sensitize family members on exclusive breastfeeding that will improve their quality of life. And then have referral services that these people can go to. And remember, people living with HIV people living with HIV, when you are serving them, you are also serving God. Okay? Involve people living with HIV in social and spiritual groups, right in the church, in the family, and even in the community. And it is very important that you mobilize congregations to provide for food, for clothing, for shelter, for education, for orphans and vulnerable children. As a church, we need to emphasize on that. Carry out regular home visits and prayers to families in the congregation, those who are affected. Refer those in need of support and care to relevant institutions. So as a church, Victory SDA Church, you need to be having proper referral systems to where these people can go to. Don't just go to them with a message, but you need to have proper referral mechanisms that they can also get further assistance. And then I've talked about psychosocial groups. Okay, let me just explain some of the misconceptions here before I give you time to ask questions. One misconception says, I will know that I have HIV when I see some symptoms. That is not true. Some people even don't show any signs of HIV for years, and even after they have been infected. Many can have some symptoms within 10 days to a few weeks after infection. So it's varied. So you cannot really depend on the symptomatic way of telling somebody's status. These first symptoms are similar to the flu-like, things like fever, fatigue, and sore throat, which is also apparently the same that appear for COVID. So they usually disappear after some few weeks, and you may not have symptoms again for so many years. So symptomatic way of telling whether someone is positive or not is not the best. The only way to tell that somebody is HIV positive is to go for a test. HIV can be cured. At this time, there's no cure for HIV. Remember, I'm using the word at this time. But treatment can keep viral levels low and helps maintain your immune system. In Kenya, all HIV-infected persons need to be initiated on ARTs regardless of their CD4 count status. My partner and I are both HIV positive, so we don't have to practice safe sex. The answer there is no. Practicing safe sex prevents you from reinfection. There is even what you call super infection. One strain of HIV, I hope you know that there are many strains of HIV virus. My colleagues will come and elaborate on that. So when you have one strain and then you practice unsafe sex, probably you may get another strain, and that becomes a reinfection, and that brings a challenge to your family. So even if you are both of you positive, still practice safe sex. I am using birth control. I cannot get HIV. HIV can be spread through any unsafe or unprotected sex with an HIV positive partner. Most forms of birth control, except condom, only protect against unwanted pregnancies. Not sexually transmitted infections, such as HIV, herpes, gonorrhea, and syphilis. But it's very important that when you're using any birth control, it is also good to practice safe sex. That birth control in itself will not protect you from HIV infection. And even the issue of condom, There are some issues in terms of usage, correct use, disposal, and all that can increase some chances. HIV positive children does not need to take ARVs because they are going to die anyway. That's not true. Whether you are a child, you are an adult, both of you are qualified to use ARTs. So there is timely care and support. And when I was reading from the book of Matthew 25, verse 40 says, the king will reply, truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. So that means you need to have that partner accountability, that brotherly support in you. You need to support someone. And I think we read James 1:27 this morning. A religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faithful, faultless, is the one that looks after the less fortunate in the society. Okay, I'll not read all those texts because of the interest of time. But Matthew says, come to me, all of you are weary and burdened, and I'll give you rest. Stigma remains a key challenge and is the main barrier to testing, access to counseling, and care and treatment. So that is the main barrier. So we need to address issues of stigma. Stigma is that bad. And that negative attitude towards someone is what we call stigma in terms of HIV status. When you discriminate somebody, actually, discrimination describes the actual ways that you treat others worse because they are HIV positive. And there are many examples of discrimination in this church and even in this community against people living with HIV. And that means, therefore, you are treating them unfairly. You are treating them so bad. And remember, they have certain rights. Even though you discriminate them, remember they have certain rights. And when you are discriminating them, when you are stigmatizing them, you are actually infringing on their rights. And you are liable for prosecution if you didn't know. There's this law regarding that. There are some facts on stigma. HIV, people living with HIV are stigmatized and discriminated against consciously or unconsciously. So it can be consciously or unconsciously. Maybe you see someone and then you start showing by even body language. Already that is stigma, by your body language. We fear, and then as a result of that stigma, people will fear to go for testing. Others will fear to be charged. Others will fail to adhere to the treatment and medication. Others will fear to go for care, and there is reduced quality of life. In fact, stigma and discrimination leads to non-disclosure of HIV status. It leads to non-disclosure. People will not be willing to disclose because they fear being discriminated or being stigmatized. And it also increases vulnerability, especially for young children and young girls and women in the community. Okay, so let me make this that HIV is a virus and anyone can be infected, so we are all at risk. We are all created in the image of God. Therefore, we are all children of God, regardless of HIV status. God is love, therefore, HIV is not a punishment from God. A child living with HIV cannot transmit the virus to other children through normal church activities, school-going activities, and even social activities. People living with HIV are much more than their HIV status. They deserve to live full, healthy lives, have and fulfill their dreams and aspirations. So HIV is like any other health condition. Action points: get tested today and know your status. Embrace and bear each other. Be each other's keeper. Create a conducive environment at home, in church, in worship places, in the community, for people to know their status and for people to express their feelings. Let us come together and stand against HIV stigma and discrimination. Do not give up. The future is still bright for all of us. There are some other myths and misconceptions regarding HIV, and this one is now AIDS. Having HIV means you have AIDS. That's not true. HIV is a virus that destroys the body immune cells, which helps to fight the disease. With the right medication, you can have HIV for years or decades without HIV progressing to AIDS. AIDS actually is diagnosed when you have HIV as well as certain opportunistic infections that exist. Therefore, it's not a must that when you have HIV, you already have AIDS. People who are living with HIV are promiscuous. I think I had explained that. That is not true. And there are many routes of HIV transmission. Some can be transmitted from the mother to the child, during pregnancy, during labor, during delivery, or even breastfeeding. HIV can also be transmitted through blood transfusion with unscreened blood. HIV can be transmitted by sharing unsterilized needles, syringes, and even some other practices. So in a nutshell, there are many routes of transmission. So if you focus on promiscuity alone as a route of HIV transmission, then you miss the mark. There are these other routes that can be transmitted. And therefore, people who are living with HIV are not necessarily promiscuous. I'm HIV positive. My life is now over. I'll tell you, HIV is not a death sentence. It's not a curse. It's not witchcraft. Stick to ART regime and you'll enjoy your life just like any other person. So this is not a life sentence. It's not a death sentence. So let me summarize by making these points. And I'll summarize from the book of Proverbs 12:25 that says, anxiety weighs down the heart, but a kind word cheers it up. Romans 14:13 says, therefore let us stop passing judgment on one another. Instead, make up your mind not to put any stumbling block or obstacle in the way of a brother or a sister. And then James 3:17 says, but the wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure, then peace, loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy, and good fruit, impartial, and sincere. So in a nutshell, I want to summarize by saying this. HIV is real. HIV can be managed. Prevention is the focus. Family fabrics or family, sticking to the family and being faithful in the family is one of the key prevention mechanisms. Infections are showing up even in areas that we perceive to be low, endemic. So we need to shift and focus on all the areas. With the coming of COVID-19, there are also chances that we may miss and focus more on COVID and forget that there is also HIV in place. And may God bless you.
What do you say to Elder Terop? Yeah, that was quite elaborate, and we want to appreciate him for that good presentation. We are getting a question and answer session, and I would really encourage you to be as free as possible. Ask all the questions that are bothering you. But before we come to that, I just wanted to make a highlight on the HIV situation in Kisumu County. That is where we are residing. So for Kisumu County, as earlier I had stated that we are at 17.3%, and that means we are number 2 nationally in terms of HIV prevalence. Homa Bay is number 1, Kisumu is number 2, Siaya is number 3, and Migori is number 4 nationally. So we are the high burden counties. Food for thought, where are you? How many of us know their HIV status? Carry up your hand. Have you ever tested for HIV? But I know quite a number of us have never ever tested for HIV at the same time because of fear. Si tunaogopa? And we said clearly that promiscuity is not one of the, does not mean that you are going to turn HIV positive. You can still get HIV positive even when you had only one sexual partner. So I want really to encourage us to come out and get to know our HIV status, because prevention of further spread of HIV starts with us. Once you know your HIV status, you'll be able to know how you're going to live. If you're positive, you will adhere to your medication. If you're negative, you will still keep on being negative, observing risk reduction strategies. For prevention of mother-to-child transmission, the country at large, that is Kenya, we are at 9.2%. Kisumu is at 8.7% in terms of prevention of mother-to-child transmission. So this tells us that in as much as we are having quite a number of interventions to prevent mother-to-child transmission, we are still having babies who are turning positive from our mothers during pregnancy, during delivery, and during breastfeeding period. And we are told that without any interventions, 8 children out of 20 who are born of HIV positive mothers are able to turn HIV positive. With no interventions, 8 babies out of 20 mothers will turn HIV positive. But with PMTCT interventions that we are having currently, we have reduced that a great deal, and only 1 baby is able to turn positive out of 20 babies who are tested for HIV. So I really want to call upon our mothers to come out as early as possible during antenatal care. Present yourself in the facility as early as possible to be able to screen for HIV, because that is the entry point of prevention of mother-to-child transmission. I know quite a number of mothers are missed because they go to private facilities. Some of our private facilities here in Kisumu are not testing mothers during antenatal, labor and delivery, and postnatal for HIV, which is very risky for us. And this is one of the reasons as to why we are still having babies in Kisumu County who are turning HIV positive. So kindly, for our mothers who get pregnant, visit our government facilities. In government facilities, you will not go without HIV testing. We may fear the test, but it is going to help you a great deal. And if you happen to visit the private facilities, the likes of Aga Khan, the Avenue, Specialist, and so on, kindly request to have a HIV test done to you during the antenatal profiles that is run for the mothers. This is going to help us eliminate mother-to-child transmission to a percentage which is less than 5%. That is my message to the mothers. For those who are positive, let us remain positive and live positive, observing the preventive messages for people living with HIV, and ensure that you are virally suppressed. Remember, when you are suppressed, you are less likely to transmit infection to the uninfected persons. Right now, we are talking about U is equal to U. Undetectable viral load is equal to untransmittable virus. So when you are virally suppressed, you may have sex without condom, and chances are there that you will not infect the other person. So this is one strategy that we are really appealing to people living with HIV, to ensure that they are virally suppressed, they adhere very well to their medication, to be able to help cut the chain of HIV transmission from the positives to the negative. I know if I'm given too much time, I will talk a lot because I have a lot of knowledge in HIV. So I want to open the forum for the questions. So anyone who is having any questions in regards to HIV, kindly feel free. We are here as a team and we'll be able to answer your questions appropriately. We'll be able to give the microphones down. So just raise up your hand and we take up your question. Don't feel shy. One of the things that I've noticed in church, matters sexuality, people tend to shy away. Even me, I've really tried to soften my words. If you meet me in different forums where I work, you might find me a little obscene. But because today I'm in church, I'm really trying to look for words that are so soft. Msiseme, huyu maneno yake ni chafu, because I'm in a holy place. But truth be told, let us hold the bull by its horns. Ama nimesema vibaya? Let us hold the bulls by its horns. HIV is finishing us. Kisumu is number what? 2 nationally. And people tend to think that in Kisumu we are so promiscuous. Is it true? Maybe not true. Maybe Kisumu, we are really coming out to know our status. Sindio? That may be the thing. But again, I know we have quite a lot of cultural practices that also promote positivity amongst our people. The jaboya. Umesikia jaboya? Fishing. Fish for sex. Sindio? Kama huwezi peana sex, hatutakupatia samaki. And that is why Homa Bay is leading number 1 and Kisumu is following number 2. Si hata Kisumu iko na fish. Yeah, sex for fish, that is 1. Number 2, inheritance, wife inheritance, tero, podwa tero. No. Yeah, that is also another reason as to why we may be having a higher HIV prevalence. Kindly, time is not on our side. I'm inviting questions. Yes. Somebody help the lady at the back with the microphone. Fungua roho, ongea. Mariam. Fungua roho na uongee.
Okay, thank you, sister, for giving me this opportunity. My question is this about HIV and marriage. Now, these are 2 people who have come together and they have started living. Then all of a sudden, one of the partners turns out to be positive and the other one is negative. Now, when you come to Christian teachings and even cultural teachings, which teach us that you are not supposed to refuse advances of your sexual advances of your partner. So you get a partner is torn between these 2 aspects, faithfulness in marriage, and especially the partner who is infected is even thinking of divorce because the infection will be termed as cruelty in the long run. Now, let's just talk it black and white. 2 people are in marriage. Let the truth be told. Most of these people are not even using condoms. And here is one who is sick and the other one is not sick. So, at the church, yes, for health, they'll talk about discordant adherence to those rules. The church will talk about divorce is not allowed. So, what is the teaching about HIV and marriage when it comes to discordant partners, especially for the negative partner?
Thank you. And the rate at which we are having discordant relationships is becoming alarming. And this is a condition where one partner is positive and the other partner is negative. Some of these cases come as a result of not testing before marriage. I know the people who meet each other, you love each other, you don't even bother to know the HIV status of the other person, and probably one partner is already infected before you get into that relationship. So that will make you a discordant partner. At times, there are extramarital affairs that would bring in positivity in one of the partners. When your partner is not very faithful, is having high chances of getting HIV into that marriage. This is one area that science has not really given us feedback. I cannot really explain why it happens. There are so many myths and misconceptions about it, but nevertheless, we are living here with the discordant relationships. What happens next? There are so many issues of gender-based violence or intimate partner violence that comes with disclosure of the HIV status in discordant relationships. We have had quite a lot of people separating, going out of their marriages because the other partner is positive. We can still have this relationship move on. This couple needs a lot of counseling sessions, which we offer in our facilities. And we really discourage the negative partner to leave the positive partner because there's still life beyond discordant relationship. Right now we have preventive services like pre-exposure prophylaxis, which is called PrEP, and I believe you have all heard about PrEP. And we advocate that discordant negative partners are put on PrEP to ensure that it prevents them from getting the HIV infection from the positive partners. Nevertheless, we still talk about condom use. There is nowhere we will say that once you're in a discordant relationship and you're taking PrEP, put away condoms. We are still going to advocate for condom in as much as what you do with your partner in the bedroom, in darkness, on bed, we don't know. Sindio? But we will talk about it and advocate that you still continue with condoms. And the positive partner, we encourage them to adhere very well to ART treatment so that they are virally suppressed. Remember I said when they are suppressed, there are less chances of the negative partner getting HIV infection. Get that very clearly. So we only allow a condomless sex during the time when the discordant couples want a baby. So we advise them, they put away condoms, but they still take PrEP for the negative partner to be able to have a zero-positive baby. I don't know if I've answered you well, but it needs a lot of counseling for the family to turn. Any other question?
Thank you. First, thank you for the speaker of the afternoon session and your elaboration on issues related to HIV. One, I have 4 questions. I'll start with the first one. I might look a little bit indignant, but I want you to explain to me what the CD4 count is all about in relation to HIV, and why the CD4 count. And then the second one, you've talked about economic and cultural activities that probably influence the infection of HIV and AIDS. But you know very well that economically this region is not endowed, and many a times most of the youth, most of the women, most of the male might not have something sustainable to keep them. But you find that probably those who are able to sustain them might not even be coming from these towns. Some of them can be flying from Nairobi, Mombasa, and other cities, Nakuru. And they come here, they hear that if you want good life, come to Kisumu. Now, how do you reconcile such cross, let me call it, I don't know whether to call it social life from other places being imported to this place. Then in terms of social life, man is a social being. You meet a lady, you greet her, the next thing she smiles to you, you smile back. The next thing you hear, how can we meet? And then of course, being a social being, you find yourself sitting in a table and having a cool stuff. Whatever you're having, that now will relate on how your pocket behaves. How do you ensure that this kind of development, of course, from the human perspective, you avoid yourself from interaction, because that is what will bring this kind of activity. And then the last one is weather related to the temperatures of man and women in terms of sexual activities in these particular areas. You are mentioning Homa Bay is hot, Kisumu is hot, Migori is hot. Will these be factors that also influence the body to misbehave in a way that it attracts you to do things that probably you don't want to do? Thank you so much.
Quite interesting. Homa Bay ni hot, Kisumu ni hot. So in an increased body temperature. Now, let me start with answering the first question. If I had him right, he talked about CD4. CD4 is a white cell in the body, and CD4 is like the soldiers of the body that are fighting diseases for us. And once the HIV virus gets into your system, the first thing that it attacks is the CD4. And that is why when you turn positive, we quickly do a baseline CD4 count to see how much the virus has damaged your white cells. CD4, if damaged, then you stand a chance of getting opportunistic infections. Opportunistic infections are infections that people get out of a low immunity as a result of the HIV virus. So we usually recommend that anybody who is tested positive and gets a CD4 count of 200 and below, we start screening you for other opportunistic infections, especially something called cryptococcal meningitis. So we do a blood test called serum CRAG to establish whether you have that kind of meningitis or not. So CD4 is very crucial for us. And when we start ART, one of the benefits of ARVs is to improve our CD4 count. Once it improves your immunity, then you will be able to stay free from opportunistic infections. I think that is what I can say about CD4. So it's very important for us to adhere very well to treatment to ensure that the CD4 that has been damaged by the virus is brought up to a level that will be able to keep you off the opportunistic infections. You also talked about economic activities and cultural activities that enhance the positivity rate in Kisumu County and Homa Bay County. Yes, indeed, among others. It is that fish that is really leading, because we have different programs. And Fisher Fork is one of the programs that is giving us high yield in terms of the positives when we do HIV testing and counseling. Another area, especially for Kisumu Central, we are having key population. Key population is a group that has men having sex with men. We are having female sex workers and the male sex workers within Kisumu Central, and as well as people who inject drugs. this is also another area that is really yielding a lot of positives because they are having risky behaviors. They are having multiple sexual partners for the men having sex with men, for the men who are commercial sex workers, and for the female sex workers. Like in a night, an FSW can have sex with even 10 people. Out of those 10 people, how many are positive? And perhaps if this sex worker is also positive, how many people are going to get this infection out of her? So those are things that are escalating the prevalence or the incidence of the new infections in Kisumu Central. Men having sex with men, that is an activity that is going in this town. And for your information, anal sex is the highest root cause of HIV transmission, not vaginal sex. Anal sex is the riskiest, and we have our population here that are indulging in anal sex, and we really try to do preventive services to ensure that we reduce the number of new infections amongst the MSMs as much as possible. The sad thing is the MSMs are aged between 17 to about 25. I meet a lot of young boys who are homosexuals. Again, work to our parents. Do we talk to our children? If you see your boy is not very close to a woman, get worried. Hapa Kisumu tuko wengi sana na MSMs. So the teachings that the parents are going to give their young boys talk about homosexuality. It may not be easy, but they are there. I meet quite a lot of them in meetings. At times I sympathize, but since it is my profession, I have to speak to them to prevent HIV transmission. Time is not on our side, and the discussion seems to be very sweet. I think we need to create another time for us to have a serious session for HIV talk. Am I closing someone? Yes? I think that would be the last one.
Maybe you can comment on the temperatures and the relationship.
Hii maneno ya temperature, si ni uongo, inaka uongo. Because even if the temperatures are high, why are you not using condoms? Temperature can be high, sindio? But what about our behavior? Because we know very well that for you to have a safe sex, you need to use a condom. And if you are not able to use a condom, then take PrEP. There are two interventions. If you're not able to use condoms, take PrEP. But the issue of body temperatures making us having high positivity for HIV, I don't think I really want to agree with that because they are preventive measures. Chukua condom, tumia. Chukua PrEP, tumia. Sawa sawa.
Hi, good evening. My question is, we talk about behaviors and myths and stuff, but I didn't hear anything concerning nutrition, because behavior comes sometimes from the things we eat. You know, some people, the kind of food that we eat is causing that, you know,
the heat.
That heat that he's talking about, the kind of food that we eat. So, I mean, in seriousness, really, we as a people, Christians, have to go back to the original plan of God, because there is, HIV is, like I said, not a death sentence. There is help for HIV within the natural community, where you could find natural stuff to help, apart from prevention, but also keeping the viral load low and stuff like that. So there's help out there, apart from the medication, from the HAR medication. There's also herbal stuff that you can use to help mitigate some of those processes. But really and truly, sometimes it's the things that we eat in and our behavior, like you said, causes all of those things, and we are not truthful to each other. Because if you have a partner that is not truthful and is sexually involved with other people and comes into your relationship and is not truthful, brings that to you, it causes so much distrust. And rightfully, if you keeping yourself pure in a relationship and somebody bring that stuff to you, I mean, it's like, why would you bring that death sentence to me? You know, it's not a death sentence really, but it's, you have kept yourself. And then somebody else bring that to you. So it's really education. It's really, you know, like being open and speaking about it, because we are too timid talking about sexual behavior, and we are doing it within the church, you know. And we educating our children from early. Let them know that is not a behavior that God, you know, sex is for marriage. Full stop. Sex is for marriage. We got to get our kids to know that. Fornication and sex out of marriage is not something that God permits within the church. We got to start talking to our children in that response, and stop sugarcoating it, because they're going out there and behaving with certain behaviors, and then we can't help them because they're ready into bad behavior. So we have to tell them, sex within marriage is what God wants. You want to have sex, get married and have sex. Sexual out of marriage is not what God wants.
Thank you. She's basically talking about behavior change and health education that we give our young people concerning HIV. Are we talking about HIV with our generation? Are we teaching about HIV? Of course, yes, we are really trying, and we have, for our adolescents and the youth, we are having school programs, and another program called The Dreams, which is targeting the AGYW, the adolescent girls and young women, where we really register them in a program, and we teach them all about sexuality and all about HIV as well. We also do community advocacy, and in the community baraza, we have community dialogue days where we are able to teach the community about HIV in terms of preventive services. So that much we are really trying. Thank you. I want to close this session and hope...
The last question, please. This is about children who are born with HIV status. Yeah, they may not be aware that their parents, I know of even some who are born, and if you ask them, they say that I was told that I was done blood transfusion. But news is outside there that the parents were HIV, and even one of them even died. So as a Christian, you know that this kid does not know the truth. Can you disclose to the child that the truth is this?
Yes,
you were born like this.
Yes. We have HIV, we call them HIV exposed infants. Anytime we have mothers in our MCH, they have tested positive and they give birth to their babies. All the babies are enrolled in a program called HIV exposed infant program. And this is where we do routine testing for the babies at 6 weeks, at 6 months, at 12 months, and at 18 months before we wean them off. So those who turn positive, we initiate them on heart, and those who turn negative after 18 months, we discharge them from the hay. Again, there are steps of disclosure. That is what you're talking about is called disclosure. There are steps of disclosure. We have non-disclosure stage, we have partial disclosure stage, and we have full disclosure stage. 0 to 5 years, 0 to 4 years, there is nothing you can disclose about HIV because their cognitive development is very minimal. They are not able to comprehend. From 5 years to 8 years, we call it partial disclosure, where we really encourage the parents to start talking about not HIV per se, but they will start talking about a germ in the system that needs drugs to kill them. Sawa sawa. So we do partial disclosure between 5 years and 8 years. Between 9 years and 12 years, we commence complete disclosure. At 12 years, we expect that a child who is born with HIV knows the full status of HIV, and they know very well they are coming to the clinic because they are HIV infected. So those are procedures that we conduct within our facilities, and it is left for the parent to disclose. And only if the parent is not able to disclose, therefore we will be able as healthcare workers to give assisted disclosure. But we encourage all our mothers and our fathers to ensure that at 12 years of age, the child knows they have HIV. Thank you. Time is up. The discussion is so sweet. I don't know what to do. Last one. Hey. Anthony, time to go where? They are asking.
Seemingly there are some burning ones. We can allow two. Just two. We don't want to lock anybody out, but we can sidebar. Just take two, then we.
Okay. There was a lady at the back. The lady in blue, yes. We'll take one question from you.
Just summarize kindly as you ask your questions.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I have a very simple one. Just want to know, I've heard your discussion and the teachings, but I just want to know in our church, because we form the larger community, what is the role of the church in all this that you're talking about? Is it something that the church can incorporate, a subject that we are able now to talk to our youth? Because I've heard you talk of the age bracket, so that we say, before we go outside there in organizations where we act, we work, and in the community where we work, why can't we begin it from here so that the message can run from this church to outside the world?
That's a very good idea. We talked of 15 years to 24 years having the highest rate of new infections. Again, what is the role of church? I want to applaud our church because we have started here today. We are doing health education. We have allocated a Sabbath for HIV. Sindio? Tunaanzia hapo. So this is a very good initiative that the church has recognized the need of HIV talk in church. Many a times people don't want to speak about sexuality, but it's high time we started engaging our adolescents, our AGYW and adolescent boys to have a session of sex education even within church. I would be so glad to participate if one is organized by our church, so that we meet our adolescents and talk to them one-on-one. Sawa sawa. Yeah, so I think the church really has a role, and we hope that we'll move together to be able to give sexuality education stroke HIV in our adolescents. That is the last question.
Elder Peter.
I think besides, of course, I just wanted to have a write down what my sister said. I don't know whether you've had time to walk in this town at night.
I do.
I have. Don't ask me what I'm going to do, but I have had time to go around this town at night. And you see the kind of lifestyle that is going on. And you wonder, you're talking here about preventive and probably cure. I don't know whether, but to me, I'll be more interested in preventive than even cure. You as an elder worker, why do you wait for people to come so that you can cure them instead of looking for them at night? That I'm telling you, take a walk at night, and then you go to places, talk to these people, and then you save us the headache of the number of HIV cases rising up. To me, that is my observation.
Point taken, Peter.
Thank you. For your information, I work closely with the key population, and that is why I mentioned key population. The sex workers, the men having sex with men, and the drug users. I walk at night. You may meet me there one day and ask yourself, kumbe hata huyu ni malaya? I walk at night in their hotspots. I meet them, I talk to them, and we offer preventive services. We offer health education. We offer trainings for the sex workers. We offer trainings for the MSMs. And we offer them preventive services. We give them condoms. We give them lubricants. I know some of you will say, morals zimeenda wapi. Is that not prevention? Because you will not deter them from doing that. Truth be told, they will stop and they will ask you, will you give me food to eat? By the way, if you associate with Malaya, their language is very vulgar. Atakuliza wewe, utanipatia chakula. So because I cannot remove her from the street, I need to teach her how to prevent herself and how to prevent the other sexual partner. So we give them lubricants for the men having sex with men so that they are not able to have tears and lacerations, and that will minimize the spread of HIV. We give them condoms. Hata wakifanya sex, tafadhali tumia condom. And we teach them how to use the condoms.
Thank
you.
So
we are really trying to give the preventive services.
Thank you, Dorothy. Let's hear what is the role of the church from our speaker, then we crown it all.
Thank you, Elder. Very good questions. I think you are opening up. I wish these forums were there each and every other time. We usually encourage that every church should have an HIV and AIDS coordinator. There is a coordinator at the division, there is a coordinator at the union, there is a coordinator at the conference. So each local church should have HIV and AIDS coordinator. That coordinator then means she'll be the one, or he'll be the one, coordinating all HIV activities to ensure that the information is disseminated and all the prevention strategies are implemented within the local church. For your information, where the rubber meets the road is the local church. We may talk there at the union, we may talk at the conference, but where the real activity should be taking place is right in the church. I was even sharing with my leaders here, you need to have in this church even what we call orphans and vulnerable group, orphans and vulnerable children support group in this church here. That is when to begin. That's when to begin. This is a big church in this city. So the other role that the church has done, by the way, there's no gap in this church. Even the church has an official statement on HIV and AIDS. I hope you know that. There's an official statement. There is even a whole arm of coordination that basically coordinates HIV alone. Probably as COVID is coming in, we may now think of, I don't know whether we'll have COVID-19 coordinator, but you can match and say maybe emerging diseases coordinator. But the church has systems. The only problem is the implementation.
Thank you, Elder, for that confirmation that as a church we have a big role to play. Just quickly, Elder Peter, you asked a question. I'd like you to know quickly. Paul writes to the Corinthians, the book of 1 Corinthians 10, verse 13. It has a direct answer. As human beings, we have control over our bodies. As much as Kisumu is hot, Homa Bay is hot, Migori is hot, there is no direct relationship with the weather and HIV/AIDS. You need to know what is right and what is wrong. You can read 1 Corinthians 10, verse 13, quickly. I can read from here. The Bible says, no temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind, and God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, he will also provide a way out so that you can endure it. Amen? So the bottom line is, as much as this topic is contentious, we have the knowledge. Hosea 4:6 tells us we need not to be destroyed, or we need not to die because of lack of knowledge. Even our children who are doing CBC from grade, 2, 3 nowadays, they have HIV/AIDS lessons. If you ask them what is HIV, they can be able to tell you. So it's upon us, me and you, to work towards this vice or this disease which is infecting and affecting us. My elder was able to talk to us, Romans 12 verse 2. Do not be conformed to what? Huh? Yes, but rather we need to be transformed. Through what? Renewing our minds. Right? And by so doing, we can be able to prove or approve and test that God's goodness is pleasing. Amen? So let's work as a team, you and me. I know it's a topic which we can discuss up to evening, and even issues dealing with cultural, socio-cultural factors. They are affecting us directly, right? You know, we are in Kisumu, we are in Homa Bay, even circumcision, VMMC. Does circumcision exonerate you from contracting HIV? It doesn't. It just lowers the chances of getting HIV. So we should work as a team, and as Christians, we need to take lead and fight HIV/AIDS. And I know through God, we'll be able to be victorious. So at this moment in time, we thank you for your participation and your contributions. Allow me to invite the Deputy Director, Health Ministries, Sister Jane Oriato, to come and give a vote of thanks. And after so, we'll be able to call it a day. Sister Jane, welcome.
Thank you, my elder, for giving me this opportunity to give a vote of thanks. Good evening, everybody. Good evening once more. First of all, I would want to thank the Lord for taking us through the whole Sabbath since we began. And I would want to thank everyone who has managed to be here the whole day. It is on behalf of the health team. It is a privilege that I have to give this vote of thanks to our elder Tirop. I would want to thank you so much for giving us more advice and knowledge, and even your sincere proposals to the church concerning HIV. I know it is possible to have these psychosocial groups because within the church we have those HIV-infected children and even parents. And when you have these support groups, it's possible that we'll also be taking care of them spiritually. I would also want to thank the team, the health team, for taking time to organize the whole of this program. To my leader, Sister Ade, and our sister Dorothy, it has all been done well. And I would want to thank you for this organization. We hope to get another chance to share more on HIV issues. And my last word is that we get a reading from the book of Psalms, chapter 32, verse 8. And it says, the Lord says, I will guide you along the best ways for your life. I will advise you and watch over you. And in the book of Isaiah, chapter 41, verse 10, it says, fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee. I will help thee. I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. And may God bless you, as I called our first elder to come and summarize. I called our pastor to come and summarize for us and give our final prayer.
Good afternoon. I hope you've had a good time. And for those who fear, please visit the facilities. They are there for you so that you may know your status. We want to thank you for having turned up in a good number this afternoon. Elder, this shows that the session was good, and so may God bless you. I want to thank the health department, because always we normally our afternoon session normally ends too late, and sometimes we push them so that they may end because we have some issues pending that we need to discuss. But today we are ending so early. May God bless you, and may God give you more strength and more wisdom as you plan your issues of your departments. And I know your time is always packed. West Kenya Union is too big. By the way, how many governors? How many governors do we have in West Kenya Union? 15 governors. 15 governors. That's a big area. Just taking time to attend to our request and to accept accept the service call, I want to tell you, may God bless you. May God bless your ministry. And when we call you, just come. We still need you. And when you go back, pass our regards to the union, the West Kenya Union Fraternity. May God bless you. And may God bless you all in Jesus' name. Am I to pray, or do you expect more from me or from him? Has Elder given the last words? You have. Okay, can we rise for a prayer? Remember, after this we are having Elders' Council. And because we finished this session early, let us be there early so that we may leave early. Let's pray. Our Father, we want to thank you. We want to glorify your name for having taken us through the morning and the afternoon session. It is true that, Lord, in your creation exercise, Lord, you never created diseases, and it was not a part of creation. But because of the fall of man, Lord, we found ourselves in this crisis.